Today, we're diving deep into a world that's part science, part art, and, let's be honest, a little bit obsessive. We're talking about precision hand loading. And this isn't just about making more ammo. No, this is the quest to craft the single, most perfect round for one specific rifle.
Here's the best way to think about it. Factory ammo, that's like buying a suit right off the rack. Sure, it'll work, it's designed to fit most people, but it doesn't fit anyone perfectly. A precision hand load, though, that is a completely bespoke, custom-tailored suit. It's measured and cut to fit your one rifle and only your rifle. The result is this incredible harmony between the firearm and the ammunition.
So, what's the end game here? What are we actually trying to do? Well, the whole goal of precision reloading is completely different from just cranking out standard ammo, and it all starts with understanding that promise of precision.
This table really breaks down the two different mindsets. Just look at that first row, the goal. For hunting, it's all about reliability, right? But for precision, we are chasing the absolute smallest group size and the lowest possible variation in velocity. That obsession with consistency drives every single choice we make, from how we size the case to exactly how we measure the powder.
And that right there is the key. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Every single step we're about to walk through is designed to make each and every round an exact clone of the one before it. It all boils down to that one single word: consistency. All right, so where do we begin this quest? We start with the absolute foundation of the cartridge, the brass case. You have to get this right, because if your foundation isn't perfect, everything you build on top of it is just going to be compromised from the start.
And listen, it's not an exaggeration to say how critical this is. A lot of experts will tell you that prepping the case is the single most important part of this whole process, second only to finding the right load itself. This is where you lay the groundwork for that consistency we keep talking about.
Now, we're not just talking about wiping them down. This is like blueprinting the case. You start with a really deep clean, then you size it, paying super close attention to something we're going to talk about next called shoulder bump. After that, you trim every single case to the exact same length. Then you chamfer and deburr the mouth to make it perfect, and finally, you uniform the primer pocket so that every primer seats identically. See? Each step builds on the last one.
So what is this shoulder bump I mentioned? Well, when you fire a round, the brass case expands and perfectly fireforms to your rifle's chamber. When we resize it, we're pushing that shoulder back just a tiny microscopic amount. Doing this makes sure the round chambers smoothly and, more importantly, aligns perfectly with the bore every single time.
And when I say tiny, I mean tiny. We're talking about 0.02 of an inch. To put that in perspective for you, that is about half the thickness of a human hair. That really drives home the microscopic level of precision we are chasing here. It's incredible.
Okay, our case is now perfected. It's time to build the engine for our cartridge, the powder charge. This is the controlled explosion that's going to send our projectile flying.
So just a quick recap of our components. We've totally dialed in the case. Now we're turning our attention to the primer, the powder, and the bullet. Our mission now is to find that one perfect powder charge, the one that the rifle's barrel harmonics just absolutely love.
And this is where it gets really scientific and, honestly, pretty fun. Instead of just picking a load from a manual, we do what's called a ladder test. You load up small batches of rounds, and each batch has a slightly different powder charge, going up in tiny, precise steps. By firing these, you can actually find the accuracy node, that magical sweet spot where the rifle's barrel harmonics are just perfect and it produces the tightest possible groups. Okay, we have perfected the case, and we found our ideal powder charge. Now for the final critical step in the process, seating the bullet. This is like the final fitting for our custom-tailored suit. We're almost there. So, if you've ever looked at a reloading manual, you've seen the term COL, which stands for cartridge overall length. This is the standard, traditional way everyone measures a loaded round, from the very bottom of the case to the tippy top of the bullet.
But for precision work, we use a different, much better measurement, CBTO. That's cartridge base to ogive. Instead of measuring to the tip of the bullet, we measure to the bullet's ogive. And what's the ogive? Well, it's that specific point on the bullet's curved surface where it first touches the rifling inside the barrel. So that brings up a really important question, right? You've got COAL and you've got CBTO. For the kind of ultimate precision that we're after, which one of these actually matters?
And here is the answer. It all comes down to manufacturing. On the left, you see the problem. The very tips of match bullets, they can have tiny little variations in length, even if they came from the same box. But the ogive, That part is manufactured with incredible consistency. So what does that mean? It means if you measure by COAL, your bullet's jump to the rifling is always going to be a little different. But if you measure by CBTO, you guarantee that every single bullet begins its journey from the exact same starting line.
And this isn't just theory. Let's look at some real-world numbers. One reloader seated 5 rounds to the exact same CBTO, but then he measured those same 5 rounds using the old COL method, and he found a difference of 0.07 of an inch between them. Now that might not sound like much, but at long range, that is exactly the kind of inconsistency that will destroy a perfect group.
So the crucial point, the big takeaway here is this. For ultimate precision, for that consistency we're chasing, you have to measure and seat your bullet based on its relationship to the rifling, and you do that using CBTO, not its overall length. This one change is a total game changer for shrinking your groups.
All right, we have done all this incredible, meticulous work at the reloading bench, but you know what? It's all for nothing if the rifle itself isn't maintained to that exact same high standard. So it's time to talk about protecting our investment.
This means having a really strict, consistent cleaning routine. Using a bore guide, for instance, is totally non-negotiable. You have to protect that delicate chamber and throat. Your cleaning process has to get rid of both carbon and copper fouling from the bore. And it doesn't stop there. You got to keep the action and the bolt perfectly clean for smooth, repeatable function every time.
And why are we so obsessed with this? Well, it all comes right back to our main theme. Consistent cleaning with the right tools ensures your rifle performs the exact same way every single time you pull the trigger. Once again, it is all about eliminating every last variable you can.
Which leads us to one last thought to leave you with. After all this prep, all this obsessive attention to detail, where's the perfect shot truly made? Is it crafted here, at the reloading bench, in the pursuit of absolute consistency? Or is it executed back there, behind the trigger, through pure skill and practice? You know, the truth is, you can't have one without the other. They're really two halves of the same incredible quest for that single perfect shot.